and give me shelter. Simple life is all we want to live. Give me food, give me clothes, give me love, and give me shelter. Yeah.
So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the We2r Liberians Movement Platform, your distinct and dynamic platform that speaks to and for the masses. We are not in the business of manufacturing players, pimps, and hustlers. Rather, we're in the business of changing and revolutionizing the thought process of our people, not only in Liberia, but even around the world. Again, this is your one on the platform that speaks to and for the masses. We are not in the business of manufacturing players, pimps, and hustlers. Rather, we are in the business of changing and revolutionizing the thought process of our people, not only in Liberia, but even around the world. So tonight, we have an exciting topic. Our podcast topic for tonight is the complacency crisis. Why are Liberians not self-driven? That's a very, I think, sensitive topic that's really important for us to bring home and to see we can all kind of talk about because of the current situation that our country is faced with. I know we need no introduction. I'm your host, again, Ayiti Williams. The plan was to have a guest panelist tonight, or we say tomorrow, this afternoon, wherever you are. But we will go ahead and just do this out south. Again, we want to say good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of the We2r Liberians Movement Podcast. I'm your host once more, Ayiti Williams, and tonight we are diving into a conversation that is not just important but vital for the future of our country, Liberia. Why are so many Liberians complacent with the minimum, and how can we wake up to the reality that we must strive our own success? And again, it takes you back to the topic, the complacency crisis. Why are Liberians not self-driven? Is this a fact or not? That's something we will find out. And I know we're definitely living our truth. And so we know the reality. So for too long, many of us have been waiting for change to come from outside, usually, whether from the government, international organization, or even our own families. But here's the truth, like I said earlier on, because we're here to speak the truth. The reality or the real change starts with you. It starts with me. It starts with each and every one of us choosing to step out of the comfort of complacency and take control of our destiny. So tonight, we're going to challenge our perspectives and take a hard look at why so many people or so many of us settle for just enough instead of aiming for excellence. We'll talk about the root of complacency, the effects it has on our nation's growth, and more importantly, how we can rise together to cultivate self-driven ambition and an unstoppable mindset. As you all know, the platform is basically here to target and desensitize, those mindset that are struggling to think for themselves and to do for themselves what they think other people should do for them. But to make this show interactive is what this is all about. And that's you and me, not just me talking at you. You know what I mean? I want to hear your thoughts, maybe through some kind of post, something you can text or whatever. You know what I mean? If you like, you can make some kind of contribution, whatever way you want to do it. I want to hear your thoughts, your stories, your frustrations. Let's build a community of action and determination. And let's make sure that our youth and even our adults wake up, take charge, and create the change they want to see. I think it's so important for us. So get comfortable and relax, um, tune in, and let's get started. So the main points that I have tonight, first on our list here, the root causes of complacency in Liberia, Liberian society. Let me say it that way. So the historical context. Now, how Liberia's past, which will be war, instability, and economic challenges, might have contributed to a mindset of survival over success. And that's one. I think this is one major aspect that I want to actually look at. But what I'm going to do tonight, since we don't have enough time, I'm going to just go ahead and highlight these points. Hopefully, I'll have my guest panelist, who is no other but Mr. Nathaniel Heron, come on board, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more in depth. The impact of a system where waiting on the government or others to solve problems has become the norm. For example, you have uh, a lot of us, whether you were local in Liberia or maybe overseas, Europe, the United States of America, any part of the world that you find yourself, you do have family members who uh, find themselves most time in Liberia. They're making calls. They want to have get some kind of assistance. And the assistance that they get, we know exactly what they do with it. Maybe sitting at a liquor table, they want to buy some type of cell phone, some kind of shoes, some kind of attire, or maybe just go to a restaurant or something of that nature, but not really to start a business that would sustain them. And we can go back again to the historical context where we see the Civil War is to a large extent a factor that's responsible for some of the challenges that our people are faced with. Now, let's look at the cultural factors. Is there a tendency in in our culture to wait for blessings or settle for less? Most times, that's exactly what we do. You know, and this uh, we can lay particular focus on churches, on just little organizations that we have, and the associates and companionship that we establish. We want to sit there and in lieu of us, or instead of us trying to get to work to do something for ourselves, prepare ourselves, go learn some kind of skills. Rather, we sit there, we talk about, we're praying, not making it. Even the Bible says, you know, by their fruit, we shall know them. So if you're not working, how can you bear fruit? If you're not investing, how can you reap? So, and that's something, and this the culture of dependency, where we want to wait, and we talk about we're praying, we're fasting, we're doing this. You can fast all you want, but if you're not making any effort, if you're not making any preparation, I'm telling you, you're setting yourself up for less. I mean, for destruction. Now, two, let's look at the dangerous effect of complacency. How complacency holds back personal growth and national development. Those are other some of the factors that we. Well, that's one factor that we can take into consideration. How can you advance yourself? How can you make progress? How can you excel if you're not adding value to yourself? If you know what I mean, I just talked about that. In fact, in the very first point, where you're not learning any skill, you're not going to school, or you're not, adding any value to your life, so that in the long run, it'll be able to pay off. I always use as a quote from I believe it was Muhammad Ali, who once said, "I hated every moment that I had to train, but I said to myself, suffer now and live the rest of my life a champion." We do not want to suffer. We do not want to sow seeds. We do not want to prepare ourselves. I can use myself, and I use other people as classic example. Even when I found myself as a refugee in Ghana, there were opportunities because there were vocational training. I would say institutes or programs there that you could have gone to and maybe learn something we went there. We learned. Some of us took on. There were friends who took on carpentry. Some took on architecture drafting. Some took on construction, things of that nature. And we were able to develop on those things and to make something of ourselves today. So it doesn't matter. You have to. All you have to do is to um, kind of make something of yourself, add value to your life, and by so doing, it pays off in the long run, and then establishes you to be a better person, to be able to sustain yourself for whatever environment that you find yourself. Now, two, another point that I want to talk about, the cycle of poverty, that's that poverty, here we were saying in Liberia, and low aspiration that is often perpetuated by the lack of initiative and self drive. And that's why when I meet people, normally I ask them the question, what is your goal? What do you want to be? What do you see yourself being? For example, when I went to Liberia, I met a couple of kids in Bentor, to be specific, and those kids that I asked each individual, what do you want to be? When you grow up, some were telling me that they want to be. Some said they want to be journalists. Some said there were one who said he wants to be an engineer. One said he wanted to be an accountant. The other said he was already, uh, I believe, a steel bender or weatherman, something as a welder, something along those lines. So, but if you would just sit there and you have no aspiration, you have no dream, you don't have a plan, and I think that's one thing that is so predominant amongst our people. And one would say, Ayiti, why are you saying that's true? Amongst the multitude of youth that we have, they're adults. You want to sit there at a liquor table, or you sit there, you have no drive, you don't want to push yourself to go and learn something so as to be able to earn, and it doesn't matter what you learn. There are many things you can do. I mean, you can learn some kind of skill, be a carpenter, you can be a seamstress, you can be a mechanic, you can be some kind of steel bender, you can be a welder, things you can sit there and based on the environment, you imagine yourself being something. Because the real truth is, you did not come here to be a number, but you actually came here to actually make a difference and to contribute to the world. How can you do that? Why it's true that this cycle of poverty that we're talking about, that puts us in the sphere where we're more concerned about what we can eat now, just to fill our belly, and not about what we will be tomorrow, how we can contribute to society, has affected and is affecting us. So let's move on to the next, the mental and emotional toil of waiting for others to make things happen for us. A lot of us, whatever we do, we're dependent. So we have to get some kind of manner or I would say something from somewhere to be able to sustain ourselves. And we don't get it from that place that we expected. We're more like beggars. A friend of mine was telling me about a story about some girl he met at at, a, at an entertainment spot, some kind of drinking spot in Liberia, who would sit there, told him that, look, just watch, I'm going to make $300 tonight. And she would call the States, would call about maybe 15 persons and wouldn't ask for anything, that significant amount of money, $10, $15 here and there. And people would send her, whatever they can send her, $10, $20, $30. And just one night in the split of 3 hours, she was able to make $300 and sit right on the liquor table and would do nothing, but would drink it all. And the next thing, maybe we'll go and fix the hair and buy nice clothes and to go back and do the same thing. But could take that money, invest into some kind of education, some kind of skill training, something that will, in the long run, be able to sustain her. So that's the problem that we have, where we want to wait for other people, thinking that, why we're crying so that people can do for us what we can do for ourselves if we prepare ourselves. So let's go to my third point here is the importance of self-driven success. Personal empowerment, for example, taking responsibility for our future and not depending solely on others is so key to succeeding in life. How self-driven, what I mean, ambition leads to greater opportunities. Okay, for example, I use myself where, I ran away from home. I have a host of other friends who took risks, to be where they are today. Um, there are opportunities out there, and I always use. I think I had a short that I did on Facebook, and where I talk about the quarterback throwing not throwing the ball to the wide receiver. I know for us Liberians, a lot of us in Liberia there won't be able to understand that analogy, but there are opportunities almost everywhere. What I mean, they've been thrown everywhere. Your opportunity could be 6 feet away from you, it could be 200 feet away from you, it could be 20 miles away from you. But you have to make effort. You have to make some kind of a move to be able to get to the spot. And that part, that effort that you're making to get to the spot is that preparation that you're making, the moves that you're making, so that you can be in that environment. Because if you don't get to the environment, you may not be able to succeed. And I see a lot of us, we're sitting there. Though it's true, it's really difficult in Liberia. And not only in Liberia, even as we travel. We live in communities where some of us, you go, you get a little degree, you buy this one car and something like that, and you're complacent. You go back to Liberia, you build some kind of apartment, you build some kind of house, and you're complacent. What I mean? And failing to realize that to him who much is given, more is required. So we can do more. We have to, how? We don't have to see it before. We have to think big. I always use the text as an example. As a man think of himself and see himself, so is he. What you think of is what you be. You become a product of exactly what you think of. So it's just relatively important for us to not only limit ourselves to, especially the friends that we make, the people that we align ourselves with, all play a major role in our success. So and it's truly a fact where we Liberians we get complacent with little things here and there, and we see our counterparts. For example, Ghanaians, Nigerians, how they're making uh, uh, big moves. See, Ghana was just uh, Ghana is actually a baby to Liberia, considering when Ghana gained independence. And that's why Ghanaians, they carry themselves because they, knowing who they are. I mean, they say that they're the best in the whole wide world. And because of that tendency and behavior, we see what's happening in Ghana. Ghana now is now doing well. But we Liberians, we see ourselves, a lot of us see ourselves as subservient, as beggars, what I mean? We more of we're not producers. We see ourselves as consumers. We what I mean? We don't try to stretch ourselves. We don't want to take risks. You come to America or you travel to Europe, you get some kind of education, you run back to the country, get some kind of token job, and you are complacent with that instead of you trying to make something of yourself and to help your people. You limit yourself to that little circle. And I think it's critical that we begin to think about how we can push ourselves beyond our limit because you don't know what you have. You don't know what you're capable of doing until you put in the environment. And sometimes I know a lot of us, we have had experiences where we find ourselves in an environment where now we have to take some risks. We have to make some decisions. Have to do some things that we've not done before. Denzel Washington, my mentor, one time delivering a commencement address, used this analogy, and he said his wife told him something that in order to get something you've never had, you have to do something that you've never done. And this is the problem that we have because we do not take risks. We do not want to be in unfamiliar places, and so we waiting for people to come and do it for us. Some of us, it was risks that we took that we've got to where we are, and we're still pressing or we're still pushing. So I know Liberians, a lot of us, we're so narrow-minded when we're supposed to be talking about businesses. We're gossiping when we're supposed to be talking about adding value to our lives. You know what I mean? And one would say, we don't imagine bigger things. We're so limited in our peripheral, is so narrow. Instead of us expanding how do we expand our horizon when we're not thinking big? Rather, we're sitting down in small groups. We're talking about Gucci belt. We're talking about Louis Vuitton shoes. We're talking about Gucci shirts and things like that. Think about how you can widen your horizon. You know what I mean? To do something that will confound the wisdom of this world. But we've not been taught that, so we're limited. So this is why we wanted to come to the forefront to talk about a topic that will not only just be sweetened to your ear, but to really push you so that you'll be able to stretch yourself because there's more to you. So again, that which I'm stressing now is the mental and emotional toil of waiting for others to make things happen for us when we can do for ourselves what we think others can do. We don't need to rely on government because the government itself, for example, in Liberia right now, government is the highest employer. Government is the highest employer. Why are we going to wait on government when we as citizens can go with innovations, even in the great United States? You come, you get some kind of piece of house, you think you're paying some kind of mortgage, you're complacent with that and don't want to, expand your horizon. So let's move on to the next point that I want to talk about: the importance of self-driven success. I know we talk about that personal empowerment, taking responsibility for our future and not depending solely on others. How self-driven ambition leads to greater opportunities, and not just for individuals, but for families, for communities. Those are things that we want to do, and ultimately the entire country. And then don't take it for granted, because I always say this: we're citizens of the world. You know what I mean? The earth, what is you find yourself on, whatever continent you find yourself. Africa was artificially carved in the 1800s by the Europeans. So it's just like you have Europe, you have America. America, who said they discovered America? Christopher Columbus. This continent was already here. North, Central America, South America was already here. So people were living here. So we are all citizens. Look, I give you a classical example. Look at Elon Musk, who come from or came from from South Africa, will come to America and will be the guy now that we're talking about, who is, here with Deutsche, the Department of what, the government efficiency. So you can be anything if you want. Doesn't matter who you are, whether you were born in Bone County, whether you were born in Nimba County, whether you were born in Maryland County. If we can see ourselves bigger than that as Liberians, to know who we are. And I think the problem that we have is that we've not discovered who we are as a nation, as a people, as individuals. And so that's why, we will bring to the forefront the topic to talk about what it means to be a Liberian. But we want to kind of just focus on our topic tonight that talks about, our complacency as Liberia, the complacency crisis, how this has impacted our life, and it's impacting us as individuals, as families, as a community, and as a nation, or country. So now, encouraging a shift from a give me mentality to a why, how can I create this mentality? So, we put ourselves in a position where we're always on the receiving end. That's something that we need to do away with. Excuse me. We need to do away with, because, whenever you've put yourself in that position where you constantly just extending your hands. Do you know that being the beggar, you become a slave to that person who constantly gives you. You become subservient to that person. That person has control over you. That person can manipulate you. That person can direct you, instruct you, and make decisions for you. So we want to encourage ourselves, encourage our family, the Liberians who are in Liberia and here also other parts of the world where we can find ourselves. Like we say, that mentality, not the give me mentality, but the why. How can I create this mentality? How can I make something of myself? How can I make something of whatever I have? There's a saying that says that if you're giving lemon, then you should make lemonade, So whatever your hand finds to do, whatever you find yourself, just like a young man was asking me the last time, where do I think is the best place? We leave from Liberia or we stay in Liberia. In that community where we live, how is it that the Fula guy will come to Liberia? You know what I mean? And actually, he succeeds in Liberia. The Lebanese come to Liberia and succeed. He succeeds in Liberia. Other foreign nationals will come to our country and make something of themselves. That speaks to the core that there's something totally wrong with us because we're complicit. We want to hold them, to beg them. They are leasing, they're building in our country. They are doing well. It is dangerous not only for ourselves, but for our children, for our country, and for, and the future of our children. So that's something that we need to curtail. We need to really fight against so that we can make Liberia, first build ourselves as individuals. If we can build ourselves, fathers can build themselves, mothers can build themselves, parents can build themselves. That's something that we'll be able to cultivate, and our children will see to know that no, I'm not just a beggar. I'm not a beggar. I'm not the till. I'm the head. I'm not here to be on the receiving end, but I'm not here to be consumer, but I'm here to be producer. When you carry that mindset, Liberians, no, we're complacent. We come to places, we start doing some kind of job, and then we feel like we get one or two little apartments here and there, and we feel like, oh, we've made it. When you see what our counterparts are doing, uh, they building big roads, the technology savvy and the infrastructure are being improved, you know what I mean? But we are limiting ourselves. The same thing goes for our leaders. Our leaders are complicit. So you get the 20 million, not to get political here, you know what I mean? But it's just because we're trying to cultivate this attitude, this self-driven, mindset. This mindset that's more about how can we create this and now give me mentality. We want to abolish that. Practical steps to cultivate a self-driven mindset. The role of education and continuous learning in shaping the future of Liberian youth and adults. You find yourself, you grab your cell phone. The cell phone that was made for many reasons. We can make calls, but we can also go there. You have internet service. You have in Liberia, you say data. Use your data now to YouTube something that will inspire you, something that will educate you, something that will add value to your life, something that will make something of you, so that you can be also of substance and you'll be able to contribute. Learning does not have any limitation. And one thing I think we fail to realize when it comes to learning, we think it's just a classroom setting. You can also learning is a continuous, never unending task that we have to understand that is not just, structure, because there's some things that a language is something that you can learn. A craft is something that you can learn. It's not just going to Yale, it's not just going to University of Liberia or going to University or Tubman University, things of that nature, that makes you educated. But yes, that role of when we talk about that, how we can strengthen our primary schools, our secondary schools, our tertiary education, how we can strengthen our universities, our vocational schools, to produce individuals who will be high quality. They'll be able to compete with other individuals around the world. Our university will be comparable to universities, for example, university in Ghana, university in Rwanda. We're sending our kids, a bunch of our kids now, being sent to Rwanda. I'm a living testimony. I can test. I have a nephew who's there now. If we take and say, look, this is where this being practical step now to cultivate self-driven mindset. If our children start to see that in us, They'll say, no, this is exactly what we need to do. And to become, and that's something we'll talk about, to activate the I am that I am. You know, so developing resilience and a work ethic. You know, I mean, success rarely comes easy. It's not going to come easy. Those who are successful today, I can tell you, I mean, you're going to sit there and think you're going to fast and pray and it's going to come to you easy. No, you know, there are many scars that people who have success, what they've done, what they've lost, you know, the things that they had to go through, the trial and tribulations, the agony, the humiliation, the torture that they had to go through to be where they are. You know what I mean? So it's important for us to understand that. How do we embrace our work now? You know what I mean? You want to sit there, you want to get dressed up, you want to look fly. You know what I mean? There's a saying that says that no pain, no gain. You know what I mean? To be where a lot of people, if you listen to the story of a lot of successful people, the likes of even Warren Buffett, you know what I mean? Even the people have their own person, like the Oprah Winfrey that we talk about. You know, those people, they had their own personal life experiences and they put in the work. You know what I mean? We see the end result, but we don't know what they had to do. They put in the grind, they did the work over and over and over. I can use myself as a personal example, some of the things that I have many scars myself. I always want to use myself as an example. I slept in a room with no windows when I was a refugee in Ghana. I had to stand on the bus from Liberia to Ghana with no food, no water, no money, no cash, nothing. You know what I mean? There were days, no clothes to wear. You know what I mean? No water to even shower. But I was determined, was resilient, and not only that, even traveling to the US, even, you know what I mean? Again, more is expected of him who much is given. So, and we all know the truth here, and that's why, you know what I mean? It is often said that confession is good for the soul. I'm here on the platform here as the moderator, talking to you about, you know, Liberian being complicit, or a majority of us, you know, having this complicit crisis going on with us. And because of that, we don't push ourselves. We settle for less. Even with relationships, the people that we're friends with, that's the people you don't even need in your life in order for you to make it. You know what I mean? You can't be equally yoked. And to do that, sometimes you have to leave some people behind to put in the work, putting hours of work, putting hours of work, putting hours of work. They'll tell you success never come easy. How do you do that? You got to cultivate that kind of attitude. You have to work. You have to be able to. There will be failures that will come your way. You know what I mean? There will be temptations. There were the many things you had. Sometimes you have to go through. Sometimes you have to starve. You will get broke. You know what I mean? You have to forego one. That's the opportunity cost that come with foregoing one to gain the other. So how do we embrace our failure and perseverance? You know, those are questions that's a question that I want to push here. That's something you should think about here, you know what I mean, or there. Highlighting success stories, you know, of Liberians who took control of their own destiny. I'm using myself as a classical example, and then other people, or a classical example, or the other people who also are example. I have a young man here who is building his enterprise. He has a business. He's into agro processing. He runs his little warehouse, and he's doing well. I have another young man here. I mean, today we had a conversation, and we talked about it, where he has been putting in the work now. He has his little office space. I mean, everything is starting to blossom, and people will see the end result, but we'll know exactly how much work he has put in to be where he is. And so, if you have tuned in, I know I'm running out of time here. You're watching the We2r Liberians Movement Platform, a distinct and dynamic platform that's not in the business of manufacturing players, pimps, and hustlers, but rather in the business of changing and revolutionizing the thought process of our people, not only in Liberia, but even around the world. All right, now, I want to talk about how can we create sustainable businesses, local initiatives, and a movement of people who believe in themselves. Same thing I just talked about. Why is Ghanaian believe in themselves, right? We Liberian, what do we stand for? Do we really believe in ourselves? What do we have as a people? This is what we believe in. This is what we stand on as a people to say, oh yeah, to be a Liberian, or being a Liberian, what does it entail? Who we are as a people, believing in ourselves. Because what you believe, again, is a product of what you become. So now, having said that, and I want to looking at my next point, I want, as I conclude here, I want to dwell on this call to action. It's time for us Liberians to actually wake up from the slumber, from our sleep of complacency. What are the first steps each of us, can take tonight, this week, to start acting on our dreams and not just waiting for someone to, to act on them for us. We need to take initiatives. We need to work at it. What are your plans? What are your objectives? And when I meet people, like I said, not to sound repetitive, but I always ask them the question. And you have to find this one thing that you actually think you are about. And there's a there's a quote from Mark Twain, who said that the two most important moments in a person's life: one, the day that you were born, and two, the day you find out why you were born. So the real truth is knowing those two things. You know what I mean? One, you already know. I'm pretty sure a lot of us know when we were born. But now, do you know why you're here? Do you know why you were born? And you have not discovered that, this is the time now for you to begin to really think about why you were born, why you're here, such a time in the season. Do not allow someone to think for you, to make decisions for you. Do not allow someone to be the driver, to drive you, and you're just sitting there. You have to step into that place, step into the realm where, you were taking some bold steps, so that you can make an impact. And we talk about leaving legacy. What do you want to leave behind? But in order to do that, yes, you have to take complete control of your destiny and not be complacent. Don't be complacent. Don't reduce yourself to the local, the minimum, when there's more to you. Wherever you find, stretch yourself. How can we build a community that holds one another accountable to success and self-drive? Is another question I'll leave with you. What I mean? Let's encourage listeners to share their personal stories of triumph, learn success and challenges face as they begin their journey of self-empowerment. I'm really thrilled tonight. I thought that the reason why we find ourselves in a lot of the situations that we're in is because of the fact that we've become so complacent, stretching our hands. I mean, look at our whole country, even our president, our leaders, leadership. What we have, we can utilize what we have. The examples are there. Rwanda has shown it. Burkina Faso is doing it. Ghana is doing it. That's on the national scene. But let's look at individuals. If I can do it, you can do it. If you can do it, I can do it. Let's see it from that perspective. Let us all try to find our purpose, why we're here. And I'm pretty sure that act of complacency, the crisis, that we can fight back. So we want to hear from you. I'm opening the floor right now. I know it's somewhat late on your end. I don't know where you are, depending on your time zone. Whether you are turning in live or listening after the fact. Drop a comment, share your thoughts, or even share your experiences. With complacency. Let's share how we can collectively share our mindset and take action, because the change we want, to see in Liberia starts with us. So remember, it's not just about surviving anymore. It's about thriving, and it's time to stop waiting for the world to change for us. Before I wrap up tonight, tonight's show, I want to remind you all that nothing is worth having, to come easy. Nothing is going to come easy. Nothing is going to come easy. And nothing will change if we don't take action. The time for complacency is over, and the time for self-driven action is now, not later. The time is now. There's no other time. Let's make Liberia the land of opportunity, growth, and self-reliance. We know it can be. Thank you for joining me on this journey tonight. I'm your host, Ayiti Williams, and together we can do this and we'll rise to another level. Good night and stay motivated. Again, I'm your host, Ayiti Williams. Have a good night. God bless you. This is the We2r Liberians Movement. Again, we want to say We2r Liberians. You have a good and pleasant night. I look forward to talking to you guys here sometime, hopefully next week. But if we do have an emergency show, we will be up here soon. Have a great night, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
All we want to live. Give me food, give me clothes, give me love, and give me shelter. Simple.